Good day, Michelle.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine, and you?
I'm great. Welcome to Entrepreneurship Couch.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Michelle, I should start by congratulating you on the nomination that you have just had.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled.
Michelle, we are happy to be hosting you on this platform. You happen to be one of the young entrepreneurs we're going to discuss in terms of how you started your business.
Okay, that's all right.
So briefly tell us, who is Michelle Mhlanga?
Michelle Mhlanga is a 29-year-old female from Bulawayo, Tunga, in Zimbabwe. She is a fourth-year student of international trade and economics at the Shanghai Licheng University in China. And I think that's basically that for now.
Michelle, I was very impressed when I read about you having been able to start and run a company whilst you were still at college. Tell me about Eureka company.
Eureka was started in 2015 in the month of December when I was in Zimbabwe. I was influenced to start it because of my passion in education. So I found avenues of linking students from, primarily from Zimbabwe with some scholarships that were provided at that time by different Chinese universities. They wanted students from non-Asian countries. So I was one of the people that decided to take up the task and link my people with programs which are being done.
Great idea there. Now tell me what actually informed you to start and run such a company?
Well, it's my own life story. I should have graduated by now as a lawyer. I was doing my law degree with the University of South Africa from 2012. But then I had to drop out on my second year because of tuition fees not being there. So I had to make ends meet at that time. But then I taught myself one thing, that one day I will become Dr. Mhlanga and I will wear the red graduation gown. So I never let my dropping out of law school stop me from trying my best to reach the goal of being a Dr. Mhlanga one day. So after having found ways of helping people to come through to China, I was also offered a scholarship to come and study this side. And then I did that. So having been here as well, I noticed that there are so many people in Zimbabwe, young people specifically, who were going through the same pain of wishing to go to school and having so much energy, so much hopes in them, but then the finances in their houses were not stable enough to, pull them through. So I decided to help people who might be going through the same pain that I went through, because it really hurt big time at that moment. Seeing some people that you were learning with graduating getting their degrees, second degrees, and all that in your home city, all because you did not have enough money to pay tuition. So my pain or my experience influenced me to do what I'm doing right now.
Michelle, I've discovered you've been running this company for quite some time now. What are some of the experiences and challenges that you may want to share with us?
Well, the educational consultancy business is not an all-day, all-month kind of business. You don't get to have money every month because applications are seasonal, first of all. And secondly, one of the main challenges, rather, is the issue of dishonesty between you and the people that you're working with to apply for students. I've had a situation whereby students pay their monies to come and study this side. You pay the application fees, and at times, part of a certain service fee which might be needed by different institutions or partners. And then after having done all that, you find out that the students don't get enrolled, or there's something with the immigration, or different things just come to place. And in such situations, as someone who usually feels for other people, I'll be compelled to make a refund. And it's sad that some moments I'd have to fork out money from my own savings to pay for such issues, or to take care of such issues. So that's just one problem, one of the main problems. And then the other challenge is convincing students to come and study in China or in Asia. Most of the students, especially from Africa, they so much believe in studying in Europe or the United States of America that they do not know that there are institutions which are equally good in China. So, but for some, it gets to be a bit challenging. Someone will be like, okay, I'm going to apply, Michelle. I'm submitting all my papers. Then the next minute they change their mind. Yet they already have a scholarship. And it also messes up with the relation that Eureka does have with the institutions as well. Because they'll be like, okay, you gave us maybe 5 or 6 students, but now after having given them scholarships and declined or other applications of other students, your people are no longer coming. So it messes up with the relationships that we have with other institutions. Yeah. Basically, that's that.
Michelle, thanks very much for that. I'm going to ask maybe 2 questions based from what you have just said.
Okay.
China happens to be one of the bigger economies, if not the biggest in the world. How does its education system compare with other European countries?
Okay, I haven't really studied there, but then having studied here, I would say it depends on the university that you are going to. China has got more than 500 universities. You get that? So each university has got a certain ranking. And if the university's ranking is too high, then you expect a very quality education. But if it's too low, because most of the universities around have been teaching students only in Chinese for a very long time. They recently started opening up to international students. And such universities do not really have that much experience when it comes to teaching in English and handling international students as well. So yeah, the qualities of education or the systems that they use vary with the university. But you've got places like Peking University and Fudan University, which have been termed the Yale or the Harvard of Asia and stuff like that. And you do have Americans studying there. You see now. So it shows that the quality is good, but it depends on the university that you go to as well as the city.
Yeah, you know why I asked this, Michelle? It's because for me, China happens to be one of the biggest economies, and one surely would need to study there and understand how did they come about to be one of the biggest economies in the world. Yeah. Maybe my next question then would be, Michelle, COVID-19, it's really a challenge, and it's believed to have started from China. What do you think is going to happen? How is this likely to affect your consultants company going forward?
It has already affected us in a very negative way, especially for this semester. There are some students who were supposed to come in March, but then since up until now, even us, the students who are here in China, we haven't been going to class. Everything has been cancelled. So that means there is no money coming in. And for most schools, they have decided to cancel the whole March intake altogether and move all applications to September. So that means there is no money coming in up until September. That's a very bad part on our side.
Yeah. Michelle, a lot of people that we have talked to who have managed to come onto the platform, they always say the issue to do with seed capital was a challenge when they started to run their companies. How did you solve this particular challenge when you started your own consultants company?
For me, I've always been that person who doesn't believe in getting handouts from other people. And besides that, I've noticed that there are very few rather people who are willing to give you capital for you to start something nowadays. Talking from my experience being from Zimbabwe, everyone has got their own problems. And if you had to wait for someone to make a plan for you and give you the money, you might have to wait for a long time. So what I did myself was just to find ways of getting the little money that I have. You know, I remember when I was building my own website, I had to pay for it. And not even a single cent was from anyone. Each and every one kwai, as we call them in Chinese, had to come from me. You get money, you invest in something, you make profit out of it, then you take that money, put it somewhere, you know, just keep on banking up and saving up. Then eventually you'll be able to give yourself or raise your own capital. Yeah.
Michelle, I'm very motivated by how you started your company. I would want then now to understand from you as a person and for your consultants company, what's your plan the next 5 to 10 years? Where to?
Okay. In the next 5 to 10 years, the truth of the matter is that having been in China, I noticed that in the next 5 to 10 years, so many jobs or companies will be irrelevant. Artificial intelligence is taking the place of many professions in the world. And the educational consultancy field will also be irrelevant very soon. So I've decided to start looking at maybe marketing or into fashion or something else, but I'm still planning. But then I don't think that Eureka Educational Consultants might still be making an impact in 5 to 10 years from now, more than it already is. I don't think so. So I'm still looking for other ventures. I'll be doing my master's very soon, and it is for sure, like with my passion for politics, Pan-Africanism and everything, there are higher chances that I'll end up in politics. So I don't know what the future holds, but I'm preparing for it the best way possible.
Mm-hmm. I like that,
Yeah.
Michelle. Being an entrepreneur, sometimes you've got to be very dynamic, you've got to be adaptable, and agility is one thing that you've got to have. Now, let's
Mm-hmm.
move on. How does then your consultant company speak to empowerment as well as emancipation?
Well, I decided to start a program called Ubuntu because I'm a Muntu and I believe in listening to end Ubuntu. With the Ubuntu program, we raise funds and then target students who have got very good results at O and A level or metric. And then those students are able to get full scholarships here in China. For ordinary people, I usually charge a service fee. But for those ones, I apply for them for free without a service fee. And it's still a project that I'm trying to polish up here and there. Getting funds has been quite hectic, but then I do believe that one day I'll be able to help as much as I can. And besides that, when it comes to the empowering part, I've managed, or rather, let me say, Eureka has managed to pay tuition fees for some students. Last year, especially, they couldn't afford to pay tuition as well as ZIMSEC registration fees, but they were quite intelligent. So we took care of their fees, and they wrote their A levels, passed. One got 14 points, one got 12 points, and that has been so good for me. And then when it comes to emancipation as well, I myself do not believe in applying for students to come to China and just study like without finding other ways of making money. I'm a very strong believer in entrepreneurship. So what I usually do is I sit my students down, yeah, and I do give them links of how they can make money. For example, international trade, trading between China and Zimbabwe and Tanzania and Kenya, depending on where they're coming from. So I do that for them. And whichever link I find, I always share with them. Others have really been successful. One recently bought their own car because of some of the deals that they were making. And I'm so happy. I'm very much happy. And not only does that benefit them, but it also benefits their own families as well. We know things are really hard back home. But if you manage to find something to do in China here, which is legal, then the sky is the limit. So actually, the sky is just the beginning. Yeah.
At your age, Michelle, you have achieved quite a lot. A lot of other youngsters and a lot of women in particular would feel very inspired. What has been motivating you to achieve all this?
That's a very deep question. I think I would say my background. I didn't grow up with the silver spoon in my mouth. Yeah, I remember my first job, for example, was 2 days after I wrote my A levels. So since then, I've always had the mentality that whatever you want, Michelle, you have to work for it. You don't have to sit down and wait for someone to give it to you. You don't have to beg for people to, support you whichever way. If you can do something, do it. So that has always been my motivation. I've got a fear, I would say, of finding myself in a situation whereby I'm just seated there at home, for example, and waiting for someone to just give me this, give me that, give me this, give me that. Because I don't think I would call that freedom on my part. Because whoever feeds you owns you. So I'd like to feed myself and propel myself or push myself into achieving the goals that I have for myself. Yeah, so I think that's basically my motivation.
Michelle, the African Woman of the Year nomination.
Yes.
Let's go back to that. Briefly tell us about it. How did you qualify? What is involved? And what's going to be the end game?
Okay, that has something to do with the Pride of African awards, right?
Yes.
I was actually nominated for 2 categories. One is the African Woman of the Year. Mm-hmm. The second one is it's a cultural award. So I'll basically talk about them both. Most people who know me know that Michelle loves culture. Be it Asians, be it Africans, be it Americans, be it whoever, they know that Michelle is so obsessed with African culture. And I'm so vocal about it. I'm not afraid or, shying away from being judged because of my stance and all that. So I usually voice out my opinions when it comes to us getting back to our roots and all. And that has made me known by so many people. Not only do I do that, but then I have a way, especially here in China, of gathering people up from different countries, especially in Africa, and having us do stuff together. I just love people. In my language, okay, they'll say maybe Muntu Abanti and all that, but yeah, that's just basically me. And I think because of that, and me helping people, even here in China, who have had different problems from different countries as well around Africa, South Africa, Botswana, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, Zambia, and all. Because of that, I think people probably saw that maybe I'm fit to be the African Woman of the Year, as well as a nominee for the Cultural Award. And I'm humbly grateful for that. And I appreciate it. In case they will be watching this, whoever decided to send the nomination, ngiyabonga, lingadina laksasa. Yeah.
Michelle, this program would not have done justice if I'm not going to afford you an opportunity to briefly talk about what is it that you would want the world to do for an African woman. What is it?
Okay, I would like the world, this goes deep now. I'd like the world to respect Ubuntu. I would like the world to respect the laws of all Africans that our ancestors lived by. If we look at our ancestors and how they lived, they placed a woman at the center of almost everything. A woman was respected. We've had women who were queens, women who led armies, women who had very high positions in society. But then over the years, because of us teaching our own values and accepting foreign values, women are no longer where they are rightly supposed to be. And there's a huge influence of other cultures from around the world on an African woman. Firstly, they'll tell her you don't have to to have your afro. They'll tell her you're not supposed to look very dark, bleach. You're not supposed to be thick, slim down. You're not supposed to be this. You're not supposed to be that. Now you've got this African woman who is trying to fit into other people's cultures and losing her own power as an African woman, losing her own stand in the African society. And that has created a very disorganized society. And oh, by the way, I'm not a feminist. So that alone is a topic for another day. But then it's one of the systems that have been put in place to shift the African woman from where she's supposed to be to where they want her to be. And that is very unfair. So in short, what I would like the world to do for an African woman is to respect her values and encourage her to uphold them and to teach the next generation of African women those same values that our ancestors lived by.
Michelle, a lot of people have criticized our education system. They say it's not meant to empower people. Actually, it's just meant to make sure that people end up just being employees. What's your own view?
Okay, that's very true. If we look at the world and how everything is going on, we cannot shy or we cannot run away from the fact that we've been colonized before. And the reason why the colonizers got to Africa is so that they have control over us, right? If you are to look at all the countries in Africa, I'll put a special emphasis on Southern Africa. We are not independent. We are not. We are far from that, right? And for us to be independent, we'll need the right knowledge that will boost our own economies, that will make our lives better. But then doing that or changing the system that is currently there will mean us taking the positions of power, and those who colonized us, those who colonized us are not ready to give up those positions. And because of that, they'll always be giving us this education which prepares us to being below them, not above them. I mean, if you really want to control someone, would you give them the education that will emancipate them, or you give them the education that's going to keep them below you, if you're really smart? So that's the game that's being played. Yes, the education in Zimbabwe is very good, but it's good for a slave. And by a slave, I mean someone who will work for someone else, not someone who will lead. You can lead, yes, but then there are some positions that you cannot get to. And not only that, what happens, for example, if you look at history, a lot of history that would make me as an African so proud of being who I am is not taught at school. I only know my ancestors. I only knew my ancestors as people who were living in the bush, there at Matopa, there under those rocks, running around with Kokipeshu and everything. I never knew, or I was never taught that my own ancestors built the pyramids. My own ancestors are the ones who taught Pythagoras mathematics. My own ancestors are the ones who taught Plato, some philosophical thoughts and all that, or ideas rather. So history has to be changed for us to really say that Zimbabwe's educational system is good. History has to be changed. And it all starts there. If you know who you are, even if you learn this that we have right now in Zimbabwe, you're bound to change your thoughts and educate yourself further, even after being educated in the system that is meant to oppress you. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Michelle. Now, my last question would require you to give advice, give motivation to a young girl in particular, to women, but ultimately to all aspiring and those that are running entrepreneurs. What are your last words?
Okay, my advice to young girls is that you should know yourself. By knowing yourself, I don't mean like knowing what color you like, what food you like and stuff like that. No, I mean really know yourself. Knowing yourself means knowing the values that govern you. Be principled. Don't be someone who does everything anywhere with anyone. Be principled. Have boundaries. Create your future and like plan for your future and work towards it. And in case you fail, always have a plan B. If plan B fails, have a plan C. If plan C fails, the alphabet has got all the letters up until Z. Never give up. Then the advice for women. Well, we live in a society where certain circumstances have led. Okay, I'll talk about this because it really touches on a lot of people that I know. We live in a society where a woman has been degraded most of the times. You find a woman, for example, having children, and she doesn't have anyone else to support her or her kids. And most of them have given up. They even end up, giving their bodies to whoever comes along. And by whoever comes along, I mean people who don't even respect them, just so that they get the so-called status and be loved. And others have been abused and they've stayed there. My point is this, just the same advice I gave to the young girl. Know yourself. Value yourself. Just because you've got children whom you cannot take care of doesn't mean you should put yourself in a relationship that is abusive so that you put food on the table. Your happiness comes first. Find ways with other people. Make money by yourself. Learn to be independent. Even if it's selling something by the streets, start there, then you build from there. We've had situations whereby someone was a maid. Next minute, they are now an accountant. They've graduated. Work towards a greater version of yourself. And then for entrepreneurs all around the world or aspiring ones, my advice is this. It won't be easy. That's one thing you should know. It will start off very nice and, you'll start your company and things will start off very nice. But after some time, things will start going downwards. And that will determine how serious you are about achieving your goal of being your own boss. But here's the thing, just don't give up at that time. It's a trying time. You might want to give up, but do not. And in case things don't work out, find other ways. Ask other people to help you move forward, and you'll definitely move forward. Well, basically. Yeah.
Michelle, thank you very much. To our viewers across the globe, that is Michelle Mhlanga, an entrepreneur, a founder of her own company, Eureka Educational Consultants Company. Please remember to always subscribe and watch out for more youthful entrepreneurs that we are going to bring onto the platform. Thank you very much. Thank you, Michelle.
Okay.